The Chargers coming off a gritty win in Week 15 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Head to Jerry World this Sunday to face off against the Dallas Cowboys. What would the Chargers need to do to get a victory and keep the train rolling to the playoffs? Let's get into it. All right, man. Week 16 is here. The Cowboys are on the docket. Got to go to Jerry World, another early game. So we got to handle business from a Chargers perspective, and we need to get started early. So we're going to talk about the Chargers going against the Cowboys this weekend in Jerry World, and what the Chargers are going to need to do in order to get the victory and keep the train rolling towards 11 wins and a highly percentage playoff berth and coming into the last 2 weeks of the season. So, yeah, man, the Chargers got to definitely handle business early. You know, we can't mess around with this game. I talked about this in the recap video of the Chiefs game, but I'm going to reiterate it here. The Cowboys have less to play for now. They were, when I was looking at this game a couple weeks out, they were, in the hunt for the playoffs. They were like 2 games back. They were in a deep discussion of trying to make the playoffs, trying to make a push. And they, after the trades they made and the moves they made, they were trending upward. But they've dropped a few, especially from Minnesota's game last week. So there's like a 1% chance that they make the playoffs at this point. They definitely got to catch the Eagles, who has a pretty soft schedule themselves. So the likelihood of them catching the Eagles and winning the division from them is slim. I'm sure they're going to try to, be competitive in this ball game and everything like that. But again, some people in the back of their mind may be looking at it from a perspective that don't have a much chance of extending the season past the last 3 games. So we'll see what their mindset is going to be coming into this ball game. But despite all that, the Chargers have to go in with the mindset that they have to take control of this game early, impose their will, establish things up front, and get things rolling, in their direction, so they can ultimately come out with a victory in this matchup and come out of this unscathed, hopefully. Finally starting to really trend towards a healthy, space outside of the clear, season-ending injuries that we've had. So yeah, in a prime position to hopefully be as healthy as we possibly can be going into the playoffs. But again, got to take it one game at a time. So we'll talk about injuries. We'll talk about the playoff picture. We'll get into the keys to victory. So starting off with the playoff picture, we're right in the 5 spot at this moment, the very first wildcard spot at 10-4, above the Bills, who are 10-4 as well. And the Texans have snuck into the wildcard conversation now after their win over the weekend, 9-5. So yeah, so we got prime position to be the first wild card team in at this moment if the playoffs started today. Of course, the Broncos are the 1 seed at 12-2. The Patriots are 11-3 at 2. Jaguars are 10-4 at 3, and the Steelers are 8-6. So the playoffs started today. We will play the Steelers again in Pittsburgh. So yeah, I mean we played them in California in SoFi and beat them up pretty bad. But Pittsburgh will be a different conversation because they're not likely to be cold and things of that nature. Weather will be a factor. So it'll be a different game, but I definitely like our chances where we're sitting at right now if we don't ultimately get the division away. Now, this is how it's going to play out. It's simple. It's 3 games left. We're 2 games back, and we have the tiebreaker over the Broncos. So if the Broncos happen to lose to the Jaguars this weekend and we win out and get to the Broncos game at the end of the season, it could be for the division. But they have to absolutely positively have to lose to the Jaguars because I refuse to believe they're going to lose to a Chiefs team with a backup quarterback because Mahomes is hurt for the season. Obviously, we know at this point. So for sure that the Broncos are not going to lose 2 in a row. They have to lose this one, and we have to beat them in the last game of the season in order to get a division. So there's an outside chance, but the Jaguars have to come through. I mean, we can't. I don't know. I can't really say it. I mean, that's going to be a good matchup. The Jaguars are playing well. Leon Coleman has the boys playing pretty good football. We saw it a few weeks ago. So they're playing good football. I mean, there's a shot. They are playing in Denver. So we'll see how the Jaguars do as a cold weather team going into a warm weather team going into a cold environment. But if the Jaguars pull off the upset against the Broncos, we're in prime position. Like I said, they'll probably beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day and we'll have to beat the Texans at home the following Saturday, and then we had to meet them in Mile High for the division. But again, that's the only option that we can get to having a 1 or 2 seed if the Broncos lose this weekend. So, but there's the path. But worst case scenario, we'd likely be the first wild card team in at 5. We'd like to stay at 5. I don't want to drop no lower than that, obviously. So we got to keep winning ball games. So that's the playoff picture as it stands right now. So we'll see how things play. But there's a chance that we'll likely play either the Jaguars or the Steelers, depending on how things shake. But I'm hoping to stay at 5, play the Steelers first. Play a familiar opponent. With some people that we have confidence against that we played already, seen already, got film on, and kind of know the blueprint of how we can attack them in order to beat them. So I definitely looking forward to that game. All right, so talking about injuries real quick. It's some interesting injury names on here, but it's not something that we really should be overly concerned about. Keenan Allen, of course, and Khalil Mack did rest days on Wednesday. They practiced full on Thursday. No big deal there. Darius Davis is going to be out another week. Most likely he hadn't practiced 2 days in a row with his ankle. And I'm fine with it because I'm actually liking Keandre Lambert-Smith, which I underscored in a preview last week, how him returning kicks will give us a jolt and give us a boost. So they need to do that. He got in the game this past week against the Chiefs, and he did well. So I'm okay with Keandre Lambert-Smith playing again, playing receiver. I think he'll give us more juice at receiver and in a return game. So I'm definitely liking the fact that he'll be returning kicks this week because I think he get a little bit better juice. And we can allow Darius Davis to completely and utterly heal up, and they can be both in a dual threat role from the kicking perspective and the special team perspective once they all get healthy. Bud Dupree's a little weird when he has a back issue. He practiced on Wednesday but didn't on Thursdays. Maybe just try to rest him. I don't know. But he's the 4th or 5th man on the rush list. So I'm not really, overly concerned about him playing. Honestly, he hadn't really given us much. If I was a sneaky, savvy GM at this moment, the fact that Matthew Judon's sitting out there as a free agent, I would IR Bud Dupree and use that roster spot to sign Matthew Judon to bring in that 4th rusher. Because imagine Oweh, Judon, and reserve pass rush roles with Thule and Khalil Mack. That's a beast of a pass rush. I like that. But again, I'm not the GM. But if I can make a call or if he hears this, or somebody get this word to him, sign Matthew Judon and IR Bud Dupree, and let's go to work from a pass rush perspective and get after these quarterbacks, man. Because that'll be a nice four-man tandem that I'm gushing over the fact that we can get after the quarterback a lot in that space. Troy Dye, full practice, no big deal there. Trey Harris has been limited the last couple of days. I guess he fell on his hip when he got we caught that pass from Herbert in the Chiefs game, so he's been limited, but I'm thinking he'll still play. I would say 60-40, maybe 70-30 he plays. Justin Herbert, 2 full practice with his left hand, no big deal there. A little bit of a concern, maybe a 50-50 shot at Quentin Johnson plays. He's been limited both days with his growing. Tweaked it late last week, so I'm not sure if they want to maybe give him another week to rehab and rest. Not sure. Could use him out there in all honesty against the Cowboys. Definitely gonna need him against the Texans for sure. So we'll see how they treat that. And probably the delineation will be if he practices full on Friday, he'll probably play on Sunday. But if he doesn't practice full on Friday, I'm gonna say 50-50 he plays. If 50-50 he doesn't. RJ Mickens didn't practice at all this week, so with his shoulder, I think he's gonna be out. Elijah Molden, another concerning factor with his hamstring. He limited practice both days, but hamstrings are tricky, man. I mean, those soft tissue injuries are tricky. So I'm sure they're monitoring the error on the side of caution from him because they need him for the long haul. They get Trey Pipkins back in practice this week as a limited role for him. His ankle. He may be another week out, so we might be looking at Barbara Hart for another week. I'm still advocating for playing Trey Pipkin. I mean, not Trey Pipkin, but Trevor Penning. Those T's and P's getting me messed up. But I'm looking at it from a perspective of having Trevor Penning play right tackle because he gives way more juice in the run game rather than have Bobby Hart play right tackle. But again, that's just me from a coaching perspective, and I'm not the man making the decisions. And Sarah Tart came up with a shin limited. I mean, that shouldn't be a real big deal. I think he's fine. But he was on injury report as a limited practice participant. So overall, nothing too troublesome in this injury report. Still pretty healthy in that space. So we'll see how things flow. But running backs are pretty healthy. The wide receiver are pretty healthy. The O-line is healthy as going to be. The defense is healthy as going to be at this point. I think we got pretty much all our main guys there. So we're in pretty good shape. So let's talk about the keys to victory. What's going to happen with this game? Clearly we know the basics have to be done, but I think the biggest thing that they need to preach in this week, in this particular game, because it's an early game, in Jerry World at a 1:00 window again over the second week in a row. Start early. Got to start early. Don't get into the sluggish behavior, kind of waiting in the wings, trying to, get yourself up and ready for this game. Start early. Jump on these boys early, establish things early, get up there and, from the kick to the first possession of offense and defense to start establishing the physical nature of this game early. Take the fight to the Cowboys. Take the fight to the Cowboys. And because they're not playing for much, the more you take the fight to them, the less likely they will push back and want to, really ultimately fight you for a victory. So I think you need to start early, take it to them, and get things rolling. Of course, you got to do the basics: winning time possession, winning yards, and less penalties. Got to win this penalty battle. So clearly, that's always the mantra and the basis of what you want to go into doing each and every week. Establishing line of scrimmage on both sides. D-line pushing their O-line back. Our offense pushing their D-line, in the running game. Establish that O-line, establish your will, establish that physicality in that bully mindset, and definitely start to get that rolling so they can understand that it's going to be a rough outing for them. Establishing a line of scrimmage. Definitely got to do that, and getting to the run game and getting Kamani and Omarion going early and often. So yes, do that. I've been preaching the spread run game. Your 10 and 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers, 1 running back. Spread the field out with, get those DBs and safeties on the edges and run the ball in those light boxes. Definitely looking for them to do that at some point, because running power with these, I guess you can say, we're not the Rams. I'm gonna just put it like this: the Rams have a multitude of run blocking and catching tight ends who fit the bill. We have outside of Ron Gaston, we have nothing but lineman style tight ends. So Scott Matlock, Tucker Fisk when he's around, Will Dissly, those guys are blocking guys. So when you got these guys in the lineup and you go in 13 personnel with 1 running back and 3 tight ends, they know you're running the ball and the likelihood of you passing the ball is slim. So coming out in these power sets is not fooling anybody. They know what you want to do. And trying to throw the ball to Scott Matlock in the flat is not going nowhere. You're getting 2 to 3 yards. Not doing us any good offensively. So I'm not digging that. So I think they need to move more towards a spread run game. Get those wide receivers out on the field and run the ball inside with a light box. Get after Kenneth Murray and those linebacking crew. Get on their bodies at that second level and push the pile and get the Mariano guys running downhill. I definitely like that option. And protect against the interior O-line, because that's their strength. I'm not sure if Quentin Williams is going to play. He's in concussion protocol at this moment. As of Thursday, he was limited in practice. He didn't practice on Wednesday. So I'm assuming if he doesn't practice concussion protocol by Friday today, then he will likely not play. So that's 1 cog down. But he's still got Ozzy, Odigizua, and a few other guys in the interior, and that's their nucleus of their group. So we got to protect against them in the run and pass game. Got to protect against the interior O-line. So we do that and get the ball rolling downhill, and we can get and utilize the pass game off of that action and get our play action game going. That we'll be in good shape offensively. But you got to protect against that interior O-line, because got to get them guys blocked. And take advantage of the holes in secondary after you get the run game going. Deron Bland's like he's not going to play. I think he's going to go IR. Trevion Diggs has been practicing but not playing, so I'm not sure he's going to actually play at all again this year. So they got some holes in the secondary. Between injuries and just guys being healthy scratches, they have holes in the secondary. And Deron Bland going out is big for them not playing this week. He's their best corner at this point. So take advantage of those, I guess you can say, second, third, and fourth string corners. A guy by the name of Traquez Bridges is on that side. He was drafted by the Chargers this past offseason, ended up getting let go and picked up by the Cowboys. So he's over there. So you're kind of familiar with them. So take advantage of those guys, man. Utilize their inexperience and get the pass game going, get a short pass game going, and utilize Keenan and Ladd and Trey and those guys in the pass game and get them open and get the ball rolling downhill, man, and get Herbert rolling, and hopefully he'll have a good passing day. On the defensive side, we got to pressure Dak. Again, 3-headed monster. Whoever is going to be rushing the passer, got to get after him. I think we pressure Dak, and get him off his spots and get him uncomfortable early. That will bode well for us, keeping the offense off kilter all game. I think that with their running backs being banged up and they're not really running the ball well with their injuries. They're missing Tyler Guyton, their left tackle. They're banged up in the interior as well. So they got some injuries up front. I think that we can get after that particular aspect of their O-line and push the pile back and get in Dak's face early, and don't allow him to sit back there and throw the ball to Pickens and Lamb if Lamb plays. The Lamb is dealing with some type of illness, hadn't practiced all week yet, so that's another thing. But If he does play, I mean, because just the illness, I'd like to believe he's going to play and give him 2 days to get himself together and get us some fluids and get him back on the mend. He should play. He might be a little weaker in sense, but he still should play. So have him not be able to target Pickens and Lamb in large space on the outside will bode well for the idea of them having shaky offense. So we pressure Dak, get after him, get him off his spots. He doesn't really want to be a scrambler anymore, so we kind of get him off spots and sack him a few times early. I think that'll rattle their offense and keep them off kilter. So I like that. And then when you come down to the wide receivers, you got to bracket and limit their ability to catch the ball on the outside. Of course, their best and brightest weapons are George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Again, I'm not sure what George Pickens' mindset is going to be because they're almost pretty much eliminated from the playoffs at this point. And they lose this game, they definitely will be. So I'm not sure what his mindset is going to be. If he's going to be locked in, if he's going to be checked out, we don't know. But CeeDee Lamb's going to come to play if he plays. So we got to be able to bracket and limit their ability to catch the football, especially over the middle, because we've been weak over the middle a lot in the past few weeks. We got to be able to hold that down and not let them catch them deep digs and crossing routes over the middle of this defense. And again, that bodes well to the idea if you pressure Dak, that won't happen. So we'll see how things roll. But I mean, I think we've handled these basic principles in the game. I think we get the victory. So I like our chances. Again, take the fight to these boys. They don't have much to play for. Just go ahead and end their playoff hopes like we did the Chiefs last week and keep the ball rolling, man. Keep the ball rolling, and anything can happen after that. Because the Texas game is going to be a tough one, but we got to get past the Cowboys first. Got to do that. So we'll see how things flow, man. But I do like our chances as long as we stay on schedule, for sure. In the remaining 2 games, like I said earlier at the top of the show, we got the Texans week after this at home, last home game at 4:30 on a Saturday right after Christmas. And then you got to go to the Denver to face the Broncos, which could be, if they lose this week, could be for the division. We'll see. But got to handle business on our end before that even comes to fruition. So we'll see. But we're clearly rooting for the Jags, ironically enough, this week to beat the Broncos, and maybe we have a shot at it. But worst case scenario, 5th seed, lock that in, with victories, coming down the stretch. And we'll be good to go, and we'll be in the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row under Harbaugh, man. So I like what we're doing, man. So hopefully that we keep things rolling and stay healthy, and that'll bode well for us making the playoffs again for the 2nd year in a row. All right, man. So we'll see how things roll. And if you're looking for the Electric Shock Podcast in any facet, Electric Shock Pod on any platform, YouTube, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel to let the algorithm know we're doing big things. You can hit us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Gmail. Hit us on any platforms. You got any questions about Chargers news, we'll be glad to answer that for you. And we'll be back with a recap video from the Dallas game, next week. So we'll get that out to you, as well as previewing the Texans game coming up. We'll probably be a little bit different schedule this week because of the holidays, but we'll definitely try to get our content out to you. So be on the lookout for that. Follow us on social media for any updates or any changes. We'll update you there. And we'll get back to you, and hopefully we get a W this week and finish out this season strong. So, but in the meantime, between time, man, you got to do one thing and one thing well. You always got to remember to boat up.